Hi, everybody. You've all been doing great on your second midterm. Well, those of you who have taken it so far. We're finishing Victorianism and now we are making the turn into modernism. So, what is British modernism? Okay, well, you know I love my lists to define the periods that we are talking about. So, British modernism, and I've put the dates here of 1914 to 1939. And there's debate, of course, about this, and we'll talk about that in a minute or two. But generally speaking, we're talking about the period from the First World War until right up until the Second World War. All right, rebellion against the past. Modernism was skeptical of the past. And as you can see, skepticism is the next thing. Fragmentation, the idea that nothing was whole, that you couldn't understand anything in a unified way, that you could only maybe grasp at fragments of it. Very little confidence in institutions, in individuals, and a lot of that comes as a reaction to World War I. As you'll see when we discuss the World War I poets, and when we look at the aftermath of World War I in novels like Mrs. Dalloway. Moral vertigo, that's a term that the book uses. If the Victorian period was a time of morality, even prudery, the modern time threw everything into question about what's right, what's wrong, what is a good person, is it even possible to be good? Next, irony. The moderns were very invested in irony, often a bitter type of irony, exhaustion. That is a theme that runs throughout modernist work. And then ambiguity. This goes with the idea of fragmentation. Can we understand what it is? Can we not? It's ambiguous. It's not clear. Again, moral vertigo kind of ties in with this idea of ambiguity. Mimicry. We repeat things. We maybe an attempt to understand them, maybe an attempt to mock them. Homelessness is a huge theme in modernity. The idea that you can't quite belong anywhere. And then finally, interestingly, and sort of in opposition to these other things that have been listed here, gradual enfranchisement. So that by the end of the period, we're seeing some sense of things coming back into some sort of place, that things aren't as fragmented as perhaps they were. Or maybe they are, but the fragments have been enfranchised into a greater whole. A piece of non-literary art that I thought really exemplifies modernism is Barbara Hepworth's famous sculpture. It's considered one of the great modernist sculptures, Pierced Form. And if we were in class, I would ask you, in what ways does this statue reflect some of the things on this list? So that's something that you can think about on your own. And in the discussion forum, we're going to be talking about how these traits, how you're seeing them in the works that we've discussed. And you could even bring up Pierced Form if you want. So moving on, we need to talk about Joseph Conrad. So interestingly, Joseph Conrad was an immigrant. He was born in Poland, and English was his second language. It's really, really remarkable to think that Heart of Darkness, one of the great novels in the English language, was written by someone whose second language was English. Something that I always like to bring up because so many of us, work in second languages. English is not my second language, but I have tried to write in my second language, which is Portuguese, and it is not an easy feat. All right. So a question that I want us to be thinking about, what makes Conrad, and if you look at his dates here, 1857 to 1924, what makes him and The Heart of Darkness, which was published in 1899 when Victoria was still alive, she dies in 1901, What makes this work modern? Why is it usually considered to be one of the first modern novels of the English language? And of course, you all perhaps know the Francis Ford Coppola film Apocalypse Now, which is based on Heart of Darkness. This is a story that continues to have resonance. Now, if you read no other part of Heart of Darkness, I'd like you to make sure that you focus on the ending with the fiancé. It's a very, very well written, extremely modern ending to Heart of Darkness. And we'll be touching a little bit on it in the writing journal, in which I'm going to ask you this very question, and in which I will excerpt some of the part of the book that I really want you to pay attention to. I'm guessing many of you have read Heart of Darkness in high school. It was required reading when I was in high school a million years ago. If you haven't, oh, you're in for a treat. Read as much as you can. If you need to rely on summaries, that's fine. Pay a special attention to the ending. All right, everybody, so in the next video for the course for this week, I'm going to talk a little bit about World War I and especially the World War I poets. Thank you.